Okay, let's take a deep breath. So this morning, I want to share something that has been in my mind, in my heart, something I've been thinking about and feeling. And it's going to sound strange, I know, even negative, but to me, this is the most positive thing that I've experienced. And the more that this occurs within me, the more happy I get, even though it does sound odd to the ear or to the personality. And it's been like a prayer that's been inside me. And the prayer I think I can most easily say is remove me from the idea of me. Remove from me the idea of me. It's a prayer that I've been praying so much, and the deeper I go into this, the more that stripping, but that effortless stripping takes place. Remove me from the idea of me, the concept of me, the thought or the illusion of me. Take it away. I don't need it anymore. I don't want it anymore. It doesn't serve me. In fact, it never did. I only thought that it did because of my own selfish needs and desires, seeming at times to be fulfilled, but never really, only to be replaced by another desire or longing that just reinforces the idea of me. The truth is, I'm tired of listening to me with a small m. And what I really want, what I want more than anything, is to know that I am one with all that is, with the love and the light and the grace that I see and feel all around me. But that me, the me that I have claimed, the idea, blocks me from that. And every word that I speak from that place is just another brick. Every idea that I place between the truth of who I am and the experience of that truth, that idea of me with a small m, I guess you could say that's the problem. But there is a solution. And the solution is simply this, that me that I've claimed with a small m, the identity, the concept of me based upon all of these ideas that I've claimed or all of my past associations, the solution is that it isn't real. It's not who I really am. And my longing to know who that is, my longing and desire to experience only that, that's my prayer. And I realize that that experience is only going to dawn upon me when I don't care anymore. When I don't care anymore for what that egoic me is trying to assert or trying to claim or trying to express. To get to the point where I don't care. It's not what I want, and so I look past it completely. When you don't care about something, you look past it. It's not important to me. This me that has been so important, in fact, the only thing that's important, has never given me anything that is true, and I want only that. My time here in seclusion, this is where it's taken me, to see clearly that all of those ideas and all those concepts, the identity, is not only not what I want, but it's not who I am. And more than anything, this is what I want to experience, that I am presence, that is so far beyond any concept or any idea of me that there's no use even considering it. The problem is that this me that I've claimed, this concept, is so afraid to let go because it thinks, it believes that to let go of that is to lose everything. The idea that I let go of the identity means that I'm no longer there because it's associated itself with the identity so completely, woven itself together that the belief, the idea, the feeling is that as soon as I let go of that, I'm dead. I'm gone. But the opposite is true. And this is what we're realizing now. When I release this concept, when I release the idea of me, and claim who I am, the truth that I have always been, I don't lose anything, I gain everything. Because everything is here right now, this very moment. There's nothing else that I need to do. One second, someone's got themselves unmuted here. Okay. So in my seclusion and in my prayer, this has been the only thing that has made sense to me. The only thing that has really taken me, taken hold of me, the momentum, the current that has been pulling me down this river of grace toward that infinite ocean. And all I can do now is surrender to it, to allow that me that I have claimed to dissolve, to just pass, knowing that I haven't lost anything. The idea of holding on to it is what loss is, actually. That is the very essence of loss. So it begins with, I don't want this anymore, and I don't know what even that means. I don't even know how to do this because the me that I've claimed has no idea. It can't undo itself. It has to be undone. The only thing I can do is surrender. Surrender by throwing myself into that river, allowing that current to take me. The current itself will dissolve that me that I've claimed if I let it. But I have to be willing, the willingness to be shown. That's the final step. I have to be willing to be shown who I am, the truth that I've always been, that I couldn't stop being if I tried. So this has been my journey, and I know that this is the journey for each one of us. Because there comes a point when every single one of us gets tired of the self that we've claimed, that we hold on to for literally for dear life, thinking that to give up any of this is to lose our life, when the opposite is the truth. It's to gain everything. So if you find yourself getting closer and closer to that point where you just don't want to listen to yourself anymore, you don't want to listen to yourself with a small s anymore, because it's just a rumbling bubble of noise inside your brain and it doesn't help at all, then you've come to the point of pure and total transformation where you can now sink into the truth and into the reality that you've always been, that I am presence. If you're content with being you, with listening to yourself, with listening to the constant stream of nonsense that is constantly flowing from you, great, stay there. But there will come a point, I promise, when it's not going to be enough, because deep within you, you know what is enough, and everything, only that is enough. Not some limited idea, which is what you are, a limited idea of what you are, but the total truth of who I am, the I am presence within you. Get to that point. And if you feel you're already flowing in that direction, don't hold back. Keep going. Because when you finally do reach that infinite ocean and you, the idea, the concept of you has completely dissolved and is no more, that's where the real fun begins. That's where the real action is. That's where you're headed. That's, in fact, really the truth is, that's where you are now. That's where I am now. If we would only allow ourselves to rest there, to rest in God. And that's all there is, really. There's nothing else that's ever going to work. So this is what's been moving through me as I've been here in my anchor hold, just getting sick of myself. But it's a good thing, and my willingness to be shown now has outweighed everything else. So, I'm going to take a quick peek here. I don't know if Vicky is still with her grandson or has joined us. Vicky, are you there by any chance? Okay, Vicky is still in New Jersey. So, let's just open it up and see if any of you are relating to this at all. Because the human mind not only chooses not to relate to this, but forcefully rejects it. And if you feel something within you forcefully rejecting this, the idea of dissolving the idea of you, good. Then be there. But be there totally. Be there totally, because if you're totally there, then you're going to get to the point even quicker of becoming sick of that concept, the personality, the identity, and then you're going to finally desire only to release it and to realize that I am all. And it's only within that experience that you're going to find the satisfaction and the grace and the love and the holiness that you really desire. So anyone want to share in the Zoom room? If so, either just raise your hand. I see Judy.
Hello.
Hi, Judy. Go ahead. Then we're going to go to Baraka after that.
Oh, thank you so much, James. What you said this morning was exactly what I needed to hear. I've been suffering a lot doing that. And I guess my question to you is, I know that I need to let that small me go. I'm just not sure how to make it happen because it just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. And I
Right.
feel like I'm suffering a lot as a result. And I know. And when I turned you on this morning, it was like, oh my God, he's saying exactly what I know I need to do.
Yeah. Well, that's the question, isn't it? How? Okay, I get it. I get that. Now what do we do? And you're right, Judy. It's going to just keep coming back because you are literally a habit in your own mind. Your identity is literally a habit that you have formed through consistent claiming. You have claimed that identity so consistently that it's even when you let it go and say no, it's going to just pop back. So it does seem to be a process because of that habit. And so for me, the only thing that works is just to keep amping up my desire, my longing for that experience of total oneness with the beloved. That's why I often say that you have to want only one thing. The ego thrives on wanting many things. This thing 1 minute, another thing another minute, and then something else. It just, because that distracts you. The habit of you has come about and is so solid because you're distracted from realizing that what I really want is that single desire of love for love. And so the idea really is just to continue to choose that, to continue to notice when you're choosing something less, and then to let that drop, and then say, all I want is love. Now, each one of us is going to find a different little route into that core, into that center point. So the way that you do that, Judy, is going to be different than the way I do that, but only slightly. And it's going to be different only because of the habits that you formed in your mind. The habits that you formed in your mind are going to determine that right path of what you need to let go of so you can claim only that which is true within you. But I can tell you for sure that it's the desire, it's the longing for that. And then the surrendering, which is the jumping into the river and being taken by the current. And the river itself helps you dissolve, just like water helps to dissolve a salt person. If you were a body made of salt and you jumped into the river, guess what? Just being in the river is going to dissolve that. And being in that current, the current of I am consciousness dissolves who you think you are. And then ultimately, there's nothing left. And even though it sounds to the ego or the identity like a death, it's not a death at all. It's the death of death. Do you see that? It's the death of death. So thank you for asking that
Well,
question.
I think it's a good death, to be honest with you. I think it's
Oh, yeah.
the death that's necessary to be born, to be born into a new.
Yes.
I'm feeling, and I'm thinking that a lot of that discomfort is probably really a good sign, like you said, because
Exactly.
it's because I'm ready.
Hmm.
Thank you.
The fact
Thank
that
you.
you're sensing that means you're ready. This is why Jesus said you must be born again. You have to die to the idea of self in order to be born into reality. And it has nothing to do with physical death because you can undergo that here. And yes, there'll be a transformation and a bursting into light where you're not going to be as you were before, but what you're going to be is the best version of who you are, filled with love and light and grace. So why wouldn't you want that? Thank you, Judy. Baraka, it's up to you, baby.
Good morning, brother. How are you?
I'm amazing.
You are. You are indeed. Um, it's funny. I wrote down some notes this morning during my meditation, and you stole all my material.
One mind.
That's the great mind thinks alike. Um, I'm going to do my bit anyway because I think it was so cool. The fear I fear this letting go of everything. In truth, this is the truth. I will lose everything that makes the ego me.
Hmm.
And that sense of loss is uh, that is the essence of what I feel my ego is pulling at right now. What I gain is the loss of who I am not.
Hmm.
There is a loss that I am looking to gain. Lisa had a great email this morning. Um, she talks about digging holes in search of water in the desert.
Hmm.
This is the desert. There is no water. Stop digging the holes.
Right.
The thing to do with the desert is get the heck out of the desert. Um, and so to become something other than what I think I am is to lose the idea of what I think I am. I dispose of that. About, oh God, I can't even remember how many years ago. It was back in the late 70s. I decided one day that I was going to quit smoking. I'd been smoking for 20 years. I started when I was 8 years old.
Oh, my Lord.
Yes, I know. A pack a day since I was 8 years old. And that was in 59. So this is about 20 years later. Um, I bought about a whole carton of cigarettes and brought it to work on the way to work and brought it to work with me. And I had the sore throat. I couldn't, and I took my first puff of a cigarette, and I all thought I was going to die. So I threw the entire carton in the trash can, and I told the guy who empties the trash can around. I said, "Leave that trash can there. I want that carton of cigarettes to be there all day. I want to see that carton of cigarettes. When I leave to work tonight, you can do whatever you want with them, but I want that carton to be right there." And then I turned to the coffee pot in the office. I poured some coffee into the cup, and I poured in like 5 tablespoons of sugar and all this cream. And I went, I hate the taste of coffee. Why am I going through all this? What do I have to do to make coffee palatable? What do I have to do to make the life of the ego palatable? I have to pile on all this crap. So I gave up coffee and cigarettes that same day.
Oh my goodness.
And I have no idea, I had at the time no idea how I did that. Going back to the thought of doing that back in 1978 or whenever it was, I see the path true to how I'm going to give up the habit of the ego. I just hate the way it tastes. I hate the way it burns in my throat. I hate the way it fogs my mind. I hate the way that it doesn't do me any good. I don't see myself as progressing as an ego. There's nothing there. There's no water in the desert. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Baraka. That's a powerful story. And I just want to be clear that what we're talking about here is the false self. It's who you are not, right? You have fallen in love with who you are not. That's what we're saying here, and that's the truth, and I think you can all feel that. When we say ego or things like that, that's all we're really saying, who you are not. And yet, falling in love with who you are not, it's like, this is the first analogy that comes into my brain. Falling in love with someone who is completely out of your league. All it's going to lead to is total frustration. And yet you never give up. You keep wanting something that isn't there. Or maybe it's like, okay, I'm going back to the 70s now. Since, I don't know, maybe Baraka, you brought me there, but I used to have 2 posters up on my wall. Actually, 3. One was Elton John. Well, we can keep that one. But another one was Farrah Fawcett. And I can hear him laughing out there. And Cheryl Tiegs. Do you guys remember Farrah Fawcett and Cheryl Tiegs? Those were the posters I had on my wall. And I would look at them and I would think, oh, if only, if only. That's what the ego does. That's what the false self is. It's putting up an image that is completely unattainable and saying, if only. Well, tear the poster down. Tear down Cheryl Teague. You can keep Elton if you want, but tear down Farrah and Cheryl because they're completely unattainable. Everything that the ego wants is completely unattainable because it's not really who you are. So you've fallen in love with who you are not. And it's time, finally, to be in love with who you are, with your real self. And if you can fall deeply, madly in love with that, all the symbols of what is unattainable, all the posters on your wall, they just fade away and are no longer needed. So I love this discussion because it's bringing up all these different past images and ideas that relate to my desire to make something true that isn't, to hold on to something that's false, to fall in love with something that is not who I am, and to finally just release into that I am, and let that be enough.